Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name's Vanessa and this is The Cozy Chapter. Today I want to talk to you about my fall recommendations. Some of these books are spooky, some of them are magical, and others just give you that fall feeling. The first book I have is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. This one's been really popular right now, and for good reason. In my opinion, of the few books that I've read from V.E. Schwab, this is the closest to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and that book has had huge popularity. This book follows 3 women through different periods of time, and because you get these stories in different periods of time with the spooky or magical element of the vampires that are in this story, it kind of resembles that Invisible Life of Addie LaRue feeling, but with a different twist. This book is described as toxic lesbian vampires, and I can say that's pretty accurate, but I do think this is a perfect book to read around this time. The next book I have is Fairy Tale by Stephen King. Stephen King's books kind of fit for this time of year no matter what book they are. This is one of his newer books that I read that I really enjoyed. It's about a boy who goes to help an older man at his house, and he has this lovable dog, Radar. Something happens to the man, and he discovers something, the boy discovers something in his backyard that brings in it this fairy tale magical element. It's an excellent book. Stephen King is obviously an incredible writer, and it's not just your whimsical fairy tale. Stephen King brings to it this gruesome element, and it makes it something a little bit different and enjoyable for this time of year. The next book I have is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. This book is a cozy book that often gets described as feels like a warm hug, which I can agree. It's this lovable story about a caseworker that works for the department in charge of magical youth. And this caseworker has to go to live in a house with these magical youth who are considered dangerous and determine whether they're dangerous or not. It ultimately becomes the story of love and found family, and it does feel like that warm hug feeling. I also have read Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune, and I really enjoyed that book, and I think it fits the bill for this time of year as well. I may actually like that book a little bit more, which I think is a little bit of a controversial opinion. This book is about a man who dies and goes into this tea shop sort of limbo. And once again, it becomes the story about these beautiful relationships that emerge. And I really like that book. So I highly recommend it also for this time of year. Next up is This Spells Love by Kate Robb. This was a romance that I read a couple years ago that I really enjoyed. It's a cute story about a woman who is dumped by her ex and has this night where she gets really drunk and she decides to cast a spell. Well, the spell works, and the next morning she can't remember her ex, which is what she wanted. But after the spell is cast, her best friend Dax can't remember her. And it's a fun, cute romance with those magical elements. Next up is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. V.E. Schwab also is another writer whose writing really fits the fall time. This book is about 2 college roommates who start doing some experimenting, you could say, with finding out ways to get people to have extraordinary abilities. 10 years later, the 2 boys are enemies. One just broke out of prison and is looking for his old friend, and the other is trying to get rid of anyone that has these extraordinary or supernatural abilities. Next up is a cozy read that I think is really popular for this time of year. The Very Secret Society for Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. The next book in the series just came out this year, and it was an aardvark pick, and I didn't add it to my most recent box, and I really wish that I did. You might be seeing that coming up in my next subscription box. Anyways, this book is about a witch that lives in England. And in this land, the witches cannot be around each other, at least for not long periods of time, and they definitely can't live together. Well, she's a bit lonely, and she decides to take this job where she goes to a house and she teaches 3 young witches to control their magic. And it becomes this cute, cozy story with all these lovable characters. Next is a book that I don't see too often, but it's called At the Coffee Shop of Curiosities by Heather Weber. This is a cute book that gives you those Gilmore Girls vibes with the small town and the coffee shop being a central piece. This book is about 2 women. One of the women finds an unusual job listing where she is supposed to take care of an older man and his cat, and the other woman owns a coffee shop. And the story is about those 2 women and a coffee shop and a little bit of magic. My final book is The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. I think this book works for this time of year because it's about a line of women who are all cursed. The main character, June Farrow, starts to discover her curse, and she begins to see things that aren't there. I don't want to give too much away, but I will say that there's a magical element and there's some mystery. All right, that is all the books that I have for you today. If you made it this far, please comment below and tell me what books you would recommend for fall. Thanks for watching.